So now we're going to look at the picture again, but we're going to look at it with a little bit different. So this time, I just want you to point out as many objects as you can and just list them in the chat and just push send anytime. So just list objects that you see in that picture.
A lot of different objects: door, piano, picture, chair, window, table, kids, man, boy, girl, wood floor, wallpaper.
So when you look at that, you pointed out a lot of objects. Now, how did you know that these objects, how did you know the chair was the chair? Prior knowledge, great. And prior experience, great. Now, when we think about a chair, if we were to tell you what a chair is, we would tell you it has 4 legs, or it has legs. It has a seat, it has a back. But we actually don't even see the legs in here, do we? And we really don't even see much of the seat. And somebody said piano music. So how did you know that was piano music? Would you feel comfortable sharing how you knew that was piano music?
Sure. I watch a lot of period pieces on Netflix, and I kind of got familiar with the layout of these houses for the well-to-do people at this era.
Great. And so, did you think that that paper was sitting on a piano?
Yes.
Okay.
It looked like one of those stands that holds the music up.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting, isn't it, that you could put together that was piano music, even though you can't see the music on the sheets and you can't see the full piano, right? And so the things that you know about those still allowed you to see that that was piano music. And so that's your recognition network working. So you recognize these things, and it's really remarkable that we can recognize them without being able to see those things. But that's your recognition network working. And so you can recognize things in a number of different ways, even though they look differently each time you see them. And what's interesting too is that you even could recognize, without knowing it, that when you guys said it was a chair, you can categorize chair as furniture. So your recognition networks took in a whole lot of information there that you didn't even realize. And so when we're looking at that, your learners are also going to differ in the ways they perceive and comprehend information that's presented to them, because you saw this, you're using your eyes to see this, but some of your students will have sensory disabilities, blindness, deafness. They'll have learning disabilities, dyslexia. They'll have language or cultural differences. So I think it was Linda, because I think you're still there, that was sharing that you watch a lot of period pieces. So you have that cultural background knowledge, but somebody who doesn't might not look at that the same way at all. I was working with a student. When your students are recognizing things, we need to give them multiple representations, because that all goes into how they're going to perceive what you're actually presenting to them. So they need to make those connections by having the multiple representations for things. So, and that really comes down to, again, if we look at the guidelines, they kind of break it down. So, and for this one, for recognition, they break it down into these 3.
Yeah, so in thinking about how this relates to how you present content to students, you're thinking about how to enhance what they're perceiving, their perception. And so you want to have them interact with flexible content that doesn't depend just on a single sense, like sight, hearing, movement, touch. You want to be able to provide that in multiple senses, multiple ways, whether that's video, diagram, words, numbers. You've got different ways to represent concepts. And then also thinking about language and symbols, that we need to create that shared understanding and bring in that background knowledge they need for that understanding. And then in comprehension, they're pulling it all together, and it's how they construct meaning and then generate new understanding. We have, it was interesting, and that is, so will we know which student need extra means of representation? And that really gets to the heart of UDL, and gets to UDL thinking and planning. You know how we talked about variable learners. So we can know going into our classroom that we have variable learners that need information in different ways, that need to see the content in different ways. So part of UDL is upfront planning for that variability with some options of how you're representing things. Anything to add, Linda, to that piece?
No, just that we do know that we know some of the ways they're variables, so we can give you tools for being able to come up with the multiple means to represent things, so that you can reach all of them, even if you don't know which ones need what representation. So that it's variable, but there's some consistency to the variability, which makes it easier for you to plan for that variability. Does that make sense? So.
And part of that is building expert learners that recognize, oh, there's a few different ways I could gain this information as they get older, and they learn to, realize where their learning preferences are in a way, and how they understand and learn.